If your tracks feel static and boring and like something's missing, then this is the one thing that is going to make the biggest difference in your productions and your arrangements. That's going to attract the attention of top labels. DJs are going to want to play it, and fans are just going to not get enough of it. Now, this thing is automation. Now, this is something that I know for a fact most people don't properly understand, or how to even go to the lengths required to get something to proper stand up. What automation is, I'm not talking about filter sweeps, reverb swells, or anything like that. This is changes to the sound at source, usually directly on the synth, or it can be on very critical effects to shape and mold the sound to create something much more expressive and interesting. Now, I'm going to show you a demo of this right now, so let's jump into Ableton. So here we are in Ableton. I have a track which literally has 3 elements in: drums, bass, and a lead melody. Now, the beauty of automation is you can create so much interest, tension, and release with fewer elements, right? So check it out. We've got the sound which sounds like this. Right? Cool groove. Now, this lead sound here, I'm using Serum, and what we're going to do here is play with some of the macros, okay? So this, by the way, if you're ever looking for really high quality sounds, presets, or whatever, a telltale sign is if they're good, is if they have macros, and they're useful macros. So this is from my good friend, Jules, or Bound to Divide. He's my friend. He makes really good presets. Now, the one thing I will say, he has loads of reverb and delay on them, but you can always take them off. Now, anyway, a sign of a good preset is always macros. So we've got this plucky sound here. Now, I'm going to play with some of these parameters over time. So we have the envelope amount to make it open up the filter more. We've got random phase. We've got amp mod, which sounds like this. It's kind of weird and trippy. And then we've got VCF mod. Makes it kind of like LFO open. It makes the LFO open. It's mapped here to the rate. And then we've got the mod wheel, which is mapped to the sustain and the release of both the 2 envelopes, the filter envelope and the volume envelope, and also the filter cutoff. So what you can see here is I can really change the timbre and feel of this sound over time by playing with these parameters. So what I'm going to do is actually just map them to, I'm going to press configure, going to press the ones I want to play with. Here, I'm just going to go with 4 elements, but you can basically do this with anything, right? You're going to get the most mileage out of filters, ADSR envelopes, and anything that has an LFO on it, right? Now, just take a listen to how much expression I can get out of this sound with only playing with these parameters, and there's 3 elements in the mix. Check it out. Right, you kind of see what I'm doing. Three elements in the mix, and how interesting and evolving that is. Now, I will say the bass is also doing this at the same time, but this is the concept, right? You don't need many elements to make something interesting, particularly if you program your parts to be interesting as well, but then play with the parameters on the synth. It's going to sound awesome. And this is another benefit of, by the way, writing your own MIDI lines, because you can't really do this with audio. Same concept, but we'll do it with this stabby sound here. I'm going to do the same concept, but with this stabby sound. So I'm taking the lead out and putting the stab in. Now, on this, we can actually play with some parameters on Diva. Now, with a synth like Diva, there are a few things that you probably need to do. So this is a collaboration track, and you can see here that these are actually being automated already. But I would say, so I'm going to put the blame on Simon, Sleepless Skies, because he did this part. But what I would normally do with a synth like Diva is you can kind of see here, because it's controlling these parameters at source, that it's within quite a tight range, and therefore you have to be very, very precise. But what I would probably do in this circumstance, or any circumstance, would be group it together and then map it to some Ableton macros here. So let's go decay here, and then let's get the filter frequency in here, and I would set minimum and maximum points. So here, let's set the minimum point of the filter, and let's find a point where I want the minimum to be. So up in the top left, you can see here. So maybe that's going to be the minimum, around 50. And then the maximum, let's just bump this up here. Maybe about 126. Doesn't have to be super precise. But basically, this now means I have a full 128 different possibilities that I can automate rather than this tiny little range, and you have to be very precise. Let's do the same with the decay. So on the decay, the minimum is set to about 52 here, so let's just drop it down, and yeah, it was set to about 46 here, not 52. So I'm going to drop it all the way down and find the point for which I want it to be the minimum. I'm also going to drop the filter as well. Maybe about that much. And then the maximum point, this is probably going to get very crazy. So drop that down a bit. Then with the filter. I might also configure this to open up the filter decay as well. So this is going to make the decay even more prominent because the filter is also opening up as well. So let's map this here. Press map, click the decay. Let's pop it in here. So this was set to 35.5. Let's just set that to 35. Doesn't have to be super accurate. And now let's set the maximum point here. Maybe about that much. Now listen to how much expression I can get out of this sound just from these two parameters here. So much control I have. Literally just playing with the filter cutoff and the decay, part of the ADSR envelope. Now, same concept. Let me just play drums, bass, and this stab, and you'll notice it sounds pretty interesting. Right? You see, pretty simple concept, but people are not doing this. Trust me, I have listened to tens of thousands of demos, and I can tell you for a fact, 99.9% of people, maybe 99%, do not do this. And of those people, they don't do anywhere near enough of this. Now, you ideally want all of your elements to be doing this, and this is going to help your music not sound loopy and repetitive, but more of a continuous evolution and flow to your track. Now, because of this, you don't need as many elements, and also this helps to emphasize your arrangement, because there are actually two parts of the arrangement. There's the structural macro changes, which is just basically like, here is the intro, here's the build, drop, breakdown, drop, and so on. So like the big structural changes and when sounds come in. But then there's the micro arrangement, which is where the automation comes in and all the little subtle details and evolution to the sounds comes in. Your micro arrangement is going to massively emphasize and complement your macro arrangement, right? I'm going to show you an example of this in a full project for a track which doesn't have any automation compared to one which has automation. It's going to be night and day difference. Okay, here's a project. All right, I'm going to play from the build into this fake drop and into then the drop. Now, this doesn't have any automation other than some basic reverb sweeps and auto filtering to bring some of the sounds in. By the way, you should be doing that anyway, but if you want to learn more about that, we cover this in full detail. But this is a song that we made in our professional house and techno producer program. Every week we go through the workflow, show you everything you need to know. But this was from the first arrangement week, right? So this is structured, but doesn't have any of the automation in just yet. So take a listen. This part particularly is not quite there. Right? You might be thinking this actually sounds decent, and yeah, it's okay. But what I would say is, this is where most intermediate and advanced producers would be like, cool, the track's done. But this is where the pro just gets started. So let me open up the other version of this project where we've got the automation in. Okay, here's the project with all the automation in. I've had to freeze it because when I'm recording, it doesn't quite play as intended. But like, just scrolling down, look at all these lines of automation. So this is on the bass. There's a few layers, but you can see I'm playing with the frequency, sustain, attack on all of them. Then there's these pads where I'm playing with the frequency, which is the filter cutoff. Same on this ARP, we're playing with the filter cutoff. Then on this ARP here, we've got frequency, washout, the attack, the decay, the frequency of the filter. Then on these plucks, we've got sustain, washout, frequency on both of them. Then on the lead, look how many lines of automation we have. We've got like the dry, wet, the mod fine. This is on a shifter where we're playing with frequency modulation. There's like on the leads themselves, we have frequency, sustain, cutoff, LFO. Like then when it drops, look at these lines of automation here. You will hear this in a second, but like, guys, this is the length you have to go to if you really want stuff to stand out. But let's just press play, same part of the song. Let's just play it from about here. Now take a listen to the difference this has. Listen to how the sounds evolve and how much tension is created, especially in the fake drop. That lead. Night and day difference, ladies and gentlemen. Now look at the lead. We're playing with these parameters. Now the lead, you can kind of see like each note is intentionally different. So some will be more sustained, some will have a bit more of an attack, some will have a longer decay, the filter will open up, and it's just way more expressive. Listen specifically to the lead. Let's just solo it. Like some LFO action. It's so expressive, creates a lot of tension. Now listen to the main lead during this drop and like how each note sounds different. And it's used to complement the arrangement and create tension, more excitement, more movement. Take a listen. It's a bit plucky here. back to plucky. So much detail, so much expression. This is what you got to do, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't take a while, because it does, but professional producers, when most intermediate advanced bedroom producers will throw in the towel, this is where the professionals go that extra mile. They'll spend an extra hour, hour and a half, 2 hours doing the automation. And yes, if you've never done this before, it will take some time and you will lose your mind and it gets really annoying. And what I say is persevere, go to the point where you are just about to go insane, go a little bit further so the damage isn't permanent, and then that means you've done enough. Now, all of our students in the Professional House and Techno Producer program do go to the lengths that is required, and you can really see a night and day difference between their music when they started and when it finished. In the program, the amount of times I say during the feedback calls, you need to add in more automation, has gotten so extreme that we actually are creating more automation t-shirts as an inside joke. So yeah, that's pretty funny. But the point is, this is the length you got to go to. So if you look at any of any tracks from myself or professional producers, they're doing this stuff. And I guarantee if you're watching this video, you're probably not doing this, or certainly not to the lengths that are required. The automation is there to enhance your structural arrangement and make it more of a fluid, dynamic journey, create tons of tension and release to emphasize transitions. You probably noticed the first version of this we played didn't really have that sense of tension and release. And like just before a drop, you were kind of like, okay, cool, I guess the drop's coming. And then when it came, you're like, okay, cool. But in this version, it's like, you are like, oh my God, this is happening. I can't wait for this. There's so much tension. I need this drop. And then when it does drop, it releases that tension and then continues to build it up throughout the drop section. So something else I would say is you can kind of see this is following the flow of the arrangement in a lot of ways. So if we just look at the bass automation over here, when the bass comes in at the start, it's quite dark. The filter sustain is down. So, very dark. Then it's opening up. Back to dark. And then towards transitions, like breaks and drops, we're ramping things up. So this is going in tandem and complementing the transitional changes in your tracks, right? Now, one final thing. You might be thinking, well, what do I automate? Well, here are some things that are always going to work regardless of sound. Filter cutoff, ADSR envelopes on both the volume envelope and the filter envelope, always going to work. You can never go wrong. And one thing I would say is if you have a plucky sound, make it more sustained. If you have a more sustained sound, you can play with like attack, make it like less plucky, or you could make it more plucky, or you could have a longer decay or whatever. Basically just kind of do the opposite of what the initial sound is. And if there's like a really interesting component to that sound, like maybe there's an LFO controlling something, like play with the LFO rate, play with the LFO modulation amount, and basically whatever cool little thing makes that sound, play with that. And you can never go wrong with ADSR and filter. Now in the Professional House and Techno Producer program, we do this every single week. We go through and basically the start to finish process to making a fully finished track, and you see all the creative, all the technical parts, and all of the mixing, all of the arrangement, all of the automation that is required to make a professional level track that labels are going to love, fans are going to love, and DJs are going to play in their sets. So if you want to hear more about that and have a conversation with us, there's a link in the description right at the top where you can go and watch a video which explains exactly what we cover in that program, how it all works, what you get, and some of the people that we've worked with in the past. People that are implementing these strategies are signing to labels like Colorize, Sakura, Purified, Armada, Global Underground, and whatnot, and we've helped people go from where they are, where their music's getting like less than 1,000 plays, up to 50,000 monthly listeners, signing to their dream labels, quitting their jobs, and all sorts of fun stuff like that. So watch that video, and if you like what it sounds like and want to chat with us directly, you can book a call. Now, if you are going to book a call, you got to be serious about this. We don't work with everybody. So if you're a house and techno producer, that wants to consistently release music and sign to top labels, play more shows, make money from music, and quit your day job, or any of those things combined, or all of them, you're the kind of person we want to work with. This is not for hobbyist amateurs, and yes, this is a high-level coaching program and does require investment, but we have ways for making it work. So if you're interested, go watch that video. It'll explain everything you need to know, and then book a call with myself or with Tim, who's my business partner, and we can have a conversation about that. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if there's anything that you want me to cover a video on, drop it in the comments. I read all of them and respond to as many of them as I can. So if there's a topic you need help on, pop it in there. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Happy producing, happy automating, and go make some sick arrangements. See you later.